Hey guys, it's time for another Kaiju Explained episode. Yet when I decided on taking a closer look at the space monster Orga, the ham-fisted Millennian from, you guessed it, the Millennium era, I forgot that there is much more to Orga than just the monster itself. To completely cover this hybrid Godzilla alien, we need to learn about the Millennian race, along with their spacecraft and both known phases of the giant space alien. So let's break down each one to get a complete understanding of Orga, the space kaiju from Godzilla 2000. The story of Orga begins with the aliens known as the Millennians. Their name is in reference to the year 2000, nearing the new millennium, as well as being named for the aliens' own plans on creating an empire on Earth that would last 1,000 years. They traveled to Earth as a group of unknown number inside their spaceship during the Cretaceous period. However, something caused them to crash into the ocean where they lost power after sinking low enough that they could no longer harness the power of the sun's light, as the ship was solar powered. Talk about high tech. Anyway, in order for them to survive trapped in their ship in the deep ocean, they would convert their bodies into antimatter and go into a stasis where they would wait for an opportunity to leave. Ages later, a research submarine would awaken the ship when it shined its lights upon it. Then, while attempting to raise the ship with balloons, it would activate on its own and rise up, where it would position itself on top of the water in a standing position so that it could recharge in the sunlight. The Millennians are able to use telepathy to pilot their ships and to control other objects, like the cables in the ground that it used to grab and toss Godzilla around like a rag doll. Somehow telepathy even allows them to hack into computer systems. Now looking at their spacecraft, the Millennian u.f.o, as it's called, is a ship affectionately dubbed the bicycle seat by some fans. It stands at 200 meters long, 130 meters wide, and weighs in at 19,000 metric tons. It's made of an unknown material and is silver or chrome in color with a reflective bottom and a matte finish top. Later it's blasted underneath by Godzilla, where the American editor notes that the shiny finish is then turned to a matte finish. As said before, the ship is powered by solar energy and unfortunately does not seem to have a secondary power source, and throughout the movie it can be seen charging itself by the sun. The ship is armed with a plasma cannon mounted off-center on its left side that has enough power to cause Godzilla pain and send him flying into nearby buildings. The craft is also capable of firing off some kind of shockwave blast below it that is seen destroying a building and pinning down Godzilla in pain underneath the rubble. The aliens can even use the ship to extract genetic material as well as to hack into computers with its energy tentacles, which are only able to be seen in infrared. Another ability only mentioned briefly in the film is that the ship can terraform a given planet, as it was lowering oxygen levels around it, trying to make the atmosphere more suitable. After the Millennians are able to extract enough DNA from Godzilla, which contain the Organizer G1, the element responsible for Godzilla's healing power, they exited the ship in a floating form that resembled a ball of water. It's explained that they would need Godzilla's genetic material so that they could stabilize themselves and revert back into their true form. After merging with enough of Godzilla's DNA, they were able to become the Millennian, a kaiju-sized alien. Now it's not said if this is the result of multiple aliens or a single one. Sources vary on this online without references to the film. The only other real info on this would be the manga, where we do have multiple aliens. This current form, a large squid-like monster, only lasted a few moments before it began to change or mutate. And Wikizilla had this to say on the mutation. Eventually, the crew inside commanded the ship to topple a building onto Godzilla and retrieve a sample of his genetic material. Once this was done, the ship landed and a Millennian emerged, having regained its natural form. However, the presence of Organizer G1 in Godzilla's blood made the alien mutate into Orga. While Toho Kingdom is quoted as saying, "Unfortunately, the Millennian failed to anticipate the horrific side effects of the radiation spawned cells, as the creature began to mutate uncontrollably before collapsing to the ground in a hulking mass. Like I said before, there's no source for either reasoning, and both are reputable websites on Godzilla information. The main difference here is that Wikizilla says that the aliens didn't foresee that the Organizer G1 would mutate the Millennian into Orga, whereas Toho Kingdom says that it's the radiation in the cells that caused the mutation into Orga. Personally, I like Toho Kingdom's idea, as it seemed that the aliens would choose Godzilla's genetic material for the Organizer G1 specifically, but that still doesn't mean that they would be able to know about the unknown side effect. To be honest, either explanation gets us to the same place anyway. And here, the Millennian Kaiju has now transformed into Orga Phase 1. During this phase, the Kaiju is 60 meters tall, 75 meters long, and weighs in at 40,000 metric tons. The culmination of the Millennians and Godzilla's own DNA, and the name Orga is thought to be short for Organizer G1. The Phase 1 monster also goes by the term Power Type Orga in the Godzilla 2000 Millennium Super Complete Works book. It's said that its look is based on the deformed take on Toho's Godzilla, with its head modeled to look similar to the TriStar Godzilla's head, as Godzilla 2000 looked to move on from the '98 debacle and show a beast of its similar design getting pummeled by the true Japanese Godzilla. The stance of Orga is hunched over due to its massive back, which resembles the shape of the UFO itself, complete with a cannon in the same spot. It fires a destructive motion attack, or the alternatively named wave motion beam, from this cannon, but it seemed to not have the punch that the weapon had while on the UFO. While in melee range, Orga wildly swings its enormous arms, ending in club-like hands consisting of two large claws and a small clawed thumb. It's a cumbersome beast, telegraphing its punches hours before they land, yet somehow it's able to leap up to 100 meters high and 300 meters out in distance. It can control its spacecraft with telepathy like the smaller aliens could before, and it has amazing regenerative powers, given to it by Organizer G1. Orga could even continue absorbing DNA in this kaiju form through its own bite. And speaking of that bite, Orga could unhinge and open its jaw extremely wide, allowing for it to try to swallow Godzilla whole. This would lead to Orga Phase 2, a very short-lived form, now weighing 5,000 metric tons more at 45,000 metric tons. Here Orga is now gaining even more DNA from Godzilla and further trying to mutate into its clone, while also trying to devour him. Unfortunately for Orga, Godzilla would then power up a massive atomic pulse and release it, blowing the head clean off this alien wannabe clone and burning its remains to dust. So perhaps Orga should be looked at differently than any other kaiju in the Godzilla universe. It's an alien, or group of them, who's taken a kaiju-like form that are then mutated or changed by the inclusion of Godzilla genetic material. This complex makeup makes me imagine what would have happened if the Millennians absorbed DNA of another kaiju, meaning another monster other than Godzilla. Like, what if Mothra was a protector here instead? Would we get an Orga-like Moth? You could even have them encounter Anguirus while he's out on patrol, giving us a mutated Orga-Anguirus hybrid. Now, Godzilla is the only kaiju encountered in the Godzilla 2000 timeline besides Orga, which only includes itself and the original G from 1954, but it's still fun to imagine what could happen. Orga would go on to appear in the anime Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, as a look back on its attack in the year of 2022 in Turkey. This would account for 11.5 million deaths, yet the creature would be killed afterwards. According to the Godzilla anime prequel novel Project MechaGodzilla, there are two prominent theories as to Orga's origins in the anime universe. Because of the detection of extraterrestrial components in its DNA, it's hypothesized that Orga may have been an alien life form that arrived on Earth in ancient times and became dormant. The other theory suggests that Orga was either an approximate species of Godzilla or a monster directly derived from Godzilla himself, like the Servum. Now, Orga would not be the only kaiju from the Millennium era to utilize Godzilla's DNA. MechaGearus and MechaG are both made using Godzilla's genetic material as well. The suit actor for Orga was Makoto Ito, who would also play, get this, Kamen Rider Orga in a strange coincidence. And that is all I've got on everything that makes up the space monster Orga. What are your thoughts on this potential Godzilla clone? And why haven't we seen an updated take on Orga yet? Thanks again for watching. Your likes, comments, shares, and subscriptions go a long way towards helping the channel grow. Thanks again, take care, and I hope to see you next time.